Welcome back to Oxbourg, everybody. I'm Tim Eister. Hope you're all having a wonderful day. In today's episode, I'd like to complete a few things, starting with completing our downtown waterfront that we have finished last episode. I would like to fully finish it this episode. In addition to that, I would like to get a ferry service running. So hopefully we'll have time to do that this episode, and we'll hopefully get at least a couple of ferry stations hooked up. We have this one main ferry terminal that's already plopped down. It's ready to go, but we just have to plop down some extra ferry stops along probably this river. But I think we're going to have to do a little bit of terraforming to get that going. But anyways, not to delay anything any further, let's jump into it. And I want to get started on this leisure port area. So I'm going to start by doing a little bit of terraforming here. And the idea for this leisure port is there's going to be a yacht club, and there's also going to be a kind of like a general all-purpose dock area. And the inspiration for this location is going to come from Quebec City with, you know, of course, this is Old Town that's solely based on Old Quebec. But if you look on the shorelines near Old Town, Quebec City, you'll notice that there's kind of like an old port area. It's not really like a modern container port, but I think it's just kind of like a general purpose dock where, you know, if you're a rich billionaire and you're coming to dock your ship on the coastline to go have a nice meal in Old Town, this is where you would park your boat. So that's what we're going to be doing for the first portion of this episode. Then after that, we'll move on to other things. So it's not going to be too involved, I think. But I still want this to look nice and pretty. So right now, what I'm going to start by doing is I'm going to build a breakwater. Some form of a breakwater for our yacht club that's going to go in here. So I reckon if I build out something like this, yeah, I think that should be fine. And then I'll kind of build out another little pier entrance like this. Because although we are kind of in the Bay of Oxbourg, it's a very large, wide open bay. And in storm surges, I mean, with a size like this, this bay can still have some pretty choppy waters. So we're going to build a nice breakwater to keep everybody's boats, everybody's investment safe. All right, so now for this breakwater, I'm going to draw out a road all the way out here. And what I could have done, what could have been a possibility over here, is there's actually the pier. We have piers in the game now. That probably could have worked for this scenario, but I'm still going to do it the old-fashioned way. And one problem that I'm having here, Lumina appears to be, well, first of all, it's out of date for the game version. But if I disable it, yeah, let's do that. Let's just disable Lumina for this episode so I'm not blinding you guys throughout this whole process. Everything else is going to look a little dark, but that's okay. We'll re-enable it later on if we have to. Yeah, Lumina is a pretty essential mod when you're making YouTube videos on City Skylines because it just makes things look so much prettier, so much brighter and more vibrant. But lately, I don't know if it's just a result of the latest update or what, but now it's like super overexposing everything, and I just have like the default settings, so I'm not too sure what's going on there. But that's all right. We'll figure that out someday. There, so I'm going to remove these little segments. And then from here, what I think I'm going to do is draw out a nice smooth slope, just like this. So we can then branch off a road from here. Hopefully this is not going to ruin everything, but I plopped all of these buildings, so I think it should be fine. Yeah, so then we're going to do something like this. Or should I maybe just make this a regular paved road? I think I might do that instead. There, all right. Well, I think the marina is pretty good, but in order for it to be more realistic, I feel like these boats should be a bit smaller. Unfortunately, we don't have any smaller sailboats. Like, we all know how big a human is in City Skylines. I'm trying to find one right here for scale. Like, see this little lady here walking her dogs. You even have a couple dogs for scale. We'll try to picture that person beside one of these boats. That's a pretty big sailboat. I think that is a lot bigger than the majority of sailboats out there. But that's okay, because we have these small little fishing boats, but it's just, I really wanted to get those masts up in the air, you know, like when you go to any yacht club, if you live near a coastal city, you have like all these sailboat masts that are sticking up in the air, and it kind of gives it that distinctive coastal look, and I was kind of looking for that. So anyways, yeah, we're pretty much done this section of the harbor, and then the only thing that's missing is this little middle section right here. And I think this is going to be kind of in the same leisurely theme as what we've got going on here with the Ferris wheel. So I'm going to keep it simple. I think I'm going to build a little sports park. I think that's the idea. So if I go into my parks menu, I think a couple of tennis courts could look pretty cool out here. So let's say if I plop one like right here, I'm going to try to get it like perfectly parallel to the shore. If I plop one here and then, oh yeah, actually maybe a skate park too. That'd be pretty cool. Now I'm just copying Los Angeles. That's what's going on here. We already have like the big footpath that goes above the road. This is like Santa Monica, pretty much. All right, so what I'll do here is draw out a small road like this. And I think that will do, but I don't want a stoplight here. I don't think that's necessary. And I'll remove one of the crosswalks. 2 like this is okay. And that should do it, but I'd also like to have a skate park down here. I think that would look pretty cool. What if I plopped one kind of like here? There, all right. I like that, that's pretty cool. And I guess I'll just keep it simple. What about like a basketball court, maybe? Oh yeah, perfect. We're able to fit one right in here. Might as well stuff in an outdoor gym since we can get that nice and flush. And what else? What else could we fit in here? We have so many different parks now. It's pretty amazing. But I think that's gonna be it. Small playground, I guess, next to the gym. I think that's pretty good. Now, we do have, oh yeah, Apex climbing. That would have been probably pretty cool. Sports Hub Pavilion. This would have been really cool as well, but it's quite large. I think that might look a little bit better inland. Game set match, same thing. Sports complex is massive. Community pool. Yeah, I don't know. I think that's good, guys. I think we're good. All right, so now let's paint this whole thing with pavement. Hopefully this is not going to overlap the terrain here. Let's test it. I'm just curious what's going to happen here. It kind of does, and I screwed up because I added cement instead of pavement. But let's do pavement. So I'm gonna drag this all the way out here and then, oh, okay, that kind of interferes with everything. Not bad at all. And now I just gotta get some more parking out here. Parking for this area specifically. So let's do one of these, I guess. It fits in pretty nicely, except that little corner, but what I can do here is just beep, there. Problem solved. Actually, on second thought, I don't know. I'm not really a fan of it. Let's just do an open parking lot. It doesn't have to be all walled in like that. There, that's better. And then we'll connect this up to this side, I guess. And now the final thing to do is I'm just gonna decorate this a little bit. So I'm gonna turn off anarchy. I'm going to enable place multiple. Boost this up to 100%, and then we'll just paint in a whole bunch of shrubs. Oh crap, I don't want to add any to the actual pavement, so I'll delete those afterwards. There, all right. So we've got our general purpose dock in here. It's probably a little bit wider than it should have been, but that's okay. I think it still looks pretty cool. Awesome. Well, that concludes the first portion of this episode. The second portion is I want to get a ferry service going. So we've got our main terminal over here. And actually, before we go any further, there's one thing that I have to do before I forget. And that is I need to connect this new mini bus terminal to our bus network. So I've got a stop over here and then a stop here, which I could probably... Oh crap, wait. I think I actually have to click on this and then I'm just gonna move it over. On second thought, well, actually, yeah. I'm just gonna like move it over a little bit. There we go. Okay, it actually moved the stop and everything. I just wanted to put this kind of in the middle of these two stops a bit more. So is there any other bus lines that we may want to tap into? There's the red line here that comes down this way and then it loops back up this way. Or no, that's a tram line. Forgive me, guys. That's not even a bus line. Okay, well, I think that's going to do it for now. There seems to be some gap in the downtown services. There's a few streets here that have no bus connectivity, so perhaps we'll revisit our bus network at some point. But for now, at least we got one bus coming into this ferry terminal, so once we get everything hooked up, then I imagine we should be getting some usage out of it. So the plan is, we have the main station here, and I think I'm going to dot a few stations along the main coastline. And then we have this river that goes all the way across the island to the very edge of the map over here. This right now is not navigable, so I'm going to do a little bit of terraforming and widen it in its most narrow portions. And we're going to draw out some narrow boatways. So you can see this canal is just wide enough. And I'm going to be replacing some of these boring old bridges with some of the new drawbridges that we have access to. Although that might not be the best idea for this bridge specifically because it's just so high traffic all the time, which I got to fix, by the way. But yeah, we'll see. But for starters, first thing I would like to do is I want to add a station, or not a station, but a, what is it called? A ferry stop directly on a quay. No pedestrian access. Isn't this like a pedestrian road? What's this blasphemy? Probably have to go into my piers and quays and then replace this with a wide quay, I imagine. That's probably what has to happen here. Oh, but unfortunately I can't replace it. So I'm just gonna demolish this segment. Yeah, I think that's what's going on here. Not everything is compatible with one another. So by doing something like this, and then I can hook these two up. And then with a little bit of move it afterwards, we can get everything to snap properly together. But it's going to be a bit janky no matter what, I think. But let's see here what we can do. So let's do object height. I want to put it down to this height. And then we're going to lower this. And I could do this node as well, but what's that going to do? Okay, that's not too bad. That's not horrendous. Honestly, I've seen worse. It's not that bad. And, you know, from afar, you won't even be able to tell. So I think that's okay for now. Let's just add a couple boulders here to patch this up. And then I might actually remove some of these rocks because I feel like it's going to kind of impede on the boat traffic that's going to come through here. So I'll just remove those. Still looks fine. And then let's try this out. Oh, there we go. Beautiful. So I'm just going to center this. Wonderful. So we'll have a stop over here, the main stop. We'll have one here. And then I think, should I add another one to the other side of downtown? I was thinking maybe like right here would be a good spot to have some ferry connectivity. Oh yeah, we can just snap that directly to the road. Or actually, let's do a shoreline stop. Oh, that's perfect. And all I gotta do is I'll remove portions of this path. I'll remove this park. Remove some of these trees. Open this whole thing up. And then I might just kind of remove some of these stones. Just so we have nothing in the way. And then let's try that again. Oh crap, I probably removed a little bit too much of everything, but look at that, it fits. Fits wonderfully. And then what we'll do here is just reconnect everything up. So I'll redraw these paths to come close enough to the entryway. Same thing on this side. There we go. And it looks like I could probably draw a bridge or something underneath this. That might look pretty cool, but that's okay. And then, yeah, let's re-add some of these rocks. There. The ferry will have plenty of room to turn around. So that means our whole coastline is serviced. But what about over here in, what's this place called again? Western Peninsula. Oh, okay. So over here, I think Mr. Painter's Mansion might have to take one for the team unless we can somehow squeeze in a ferry terminal in here. Might be able to make that happen. The pier is not really in the way. If I can squeeze this in like this, I think we can actually pull it off. So let's do that. I think the height is quite appropriate. And now we'll just get rid of some of these boulders. Okay, I think we'll actually be able to pull it off. So if I remove this park, and then I can actually have a proper 2-lane road coming out back like this. And then we'll add maybe a nice roundabout. And then with the power of move it, we'll just clean this up. Lower this down. Oh, that might be a bit weird. And then what I'll do is maybe raise this up to match the height because this is a little low. And look at that, guys. I think we can make it work with minimal destruction. Now, the only thing for these residents, I removed a park in order to make this work. So actually what I'll do, let me just kind of get all these trees out of the way. Oh my God, okay, never mind, there's so many. Here's a little trick. If you select your crosswalk tool, you can just add crosswalks to where there's already, and then it will remove all the trees that Move It has placed in the way. So, okay. I think that does it. But because I removed that little park, I'm going to go ahead, be a good mayor, and I'm going to add a tiny park there. So people can go sit and watch the ferries come in and out of this area. All right. And now all we have to do is hook everything up. So we'll have a ferry line coming out. All right, so I'm gonna convert, these are like huge boat paths, kind of unnecessary. I'm gonna convert all of these into mediums. There, I think that just makes a bit more sense. And then this one is kind of bugging out. I don't think we'll have any boats coming in here, so I'll leave that as is. There, we'll connect this. Oh, okay, well, that kind of, I don't want to break any nodes. There, that looks a bit cleaner. Beautiful. All right. So now the last thing that we're going to do is connect up these 3 stops. So number 1, number 2, number 3, there's actually 4. There, and then we're just gonna rotate them. Oh, okay. Here, let's do drop-offs on this side, pickups on the outside. And there we go. We'll see if we get any usage out of this, but I think we will, because for folks that are living on the Western Peninsula, this is actually a pretty easy method to get out to downtown. Now, we've got our routes, we've got all of our stops plopped down, but we don't have any ferries. available to go out and start ferrying passengers. So that is why we're going to have to build a ferry depot. And like I alluded in the last episode, I was thinking of plopping a ferry depot over here. I was kind of going to build a port in this area eventually anyways. And if we can give it a use already, then we're already ahead. So I'm going to try to kind of minimize damage here. I'm going to recoup this chunk of land. And then I'm going to plop my ferry depot like this. And then I'm unfortunately going to have to destroy one building, but that's fine. It's just one building. Okay, and then we'll go in here, ferry, narrow boatway, and I'll just hook this into the main line. Oh, okay, I guess it doesn't like my bridge clearance, so we'll just turn on anarchy to avoid that. And there we are. So let's take a look at our ferry depot just to be sure that we have enough vehicles. So we have up to 20 vehicles available in our repository. So we'll be good, I think. I don't think we'll need 20 ferries to be going out. So we'll give the simulation a few minutes to do its thing, because the boats physically need to go out, but I don't see any boats. Oh, okay, there we go. We got our first boat. It's probably going to pop out here any second. We got 2 boats. Are they supposed to like spawn from here, or are they just going to appear somewhere? Oh, okay, there they go. How are we liking the color? I think it's a little bright. So I'm going to go into my ferry line tool here. So in public transit, ferries. And then I'm just going to maybe make this into like a darker teal color. Because I like the teal color because it's very aquatic. But I think it was just a little too bright. So there we go. We got 3 ferries going out. I'm just going to leave it as is. We have an abundance of ferry buildings. But I'm just curious, are people actually lining up already on this? It might take a little bit. Passengers waiting 162. Oh, here they are. They're waiting for the bus. So they're probably just using this as a bus stop, more so than the ferry stop. But we'll just let the simulation run and we'll see where things take us. Okay, so I want to continue now and start to develop the coastline over in this direction. So there's a ton of mini urban areas that we can add some ferry stops to, but the only thing that's preventing us from actually getting ferries out here is the width of these canals. Like over here, we're never going to fit a boat through here. So let's get in here. I'm basically just going to widen the rivers, but they're going to keep their relative shape. I don't want to ruin the terrain too much. And I mean, these little taxi ferries would be super maneuverable, so there shouldn't be any problems navigating all the sharp turns throughout here. But yeah, I want the river to kind of retain its... I want it to still look kind of natural. I don't want to totally ruin it. Here, I'm going to really widen this section over here. I want there to be plenty of room for the ferries. Because, of course, the bridges that are going to cross the rivers as well sort of have a minimum length, especially the drawbridges. So kind of want to be careful of that. Here, we'll widen this section nice and wide. Oh, yeah, that's That's going to flow so much better, and I think that should be good. Up until this point, it's wide open. It was just like this section that's really windy and narrow. And we're going through yet another death wave. Fantastic. I keep waiting until the death waves are over to start recording an episode, and then poof, they just appear out of nowhere all the time. So that's all right. So this bridge here, okay, so traffic is flowing quite nicely right now. There's probably another big rush that's going to appear because we have all of this traffic that's coming through here. But what if I want to replace this boring old conventional bridge with a 6-lane drawbridge just for the sake of building a drawbridge? How wide would this need to be? I don't even know if this is going to work because look at the minimum width that this bridge has to be. You can kind of make out the two silhouette of the pillars. That is the minimum width of this bridge. So I'm going to have to like double or triple the width of this little canal here. It might not be worth doing in this case. As cool as drawbridges are, I don't really think it would be worth it. What I can do, because these ferries are super small, they can basically fit under anything, I can try to get rid of this pillar here because it looks kind of odd. But unfortunately, it's no longer possible to just double click on a section of road and then it adds pillars. Can I maybe use move it? No, maybe not. Let me pause here. I'm going to try to rebuild this bridge. So rather than having 2 sections, I want it to be divided in like 3/3. Yeah, because if I do this, oh, that's actually exactly what I wanted. Okay, so I suppose the game is automatically building this bridge wider because of the ferry line that's under here. So that actually works out really nice. So now what I can do is just add kind of a nice bump. And I don't know if the pillars are going to disappear if I move anything. Yeah, no, that's going to make a mess. Here, I'll just make a nice, subtle little bump. Just like this. And then I'm going to widen it. Widen the river just a little tiny bit. There, just making sure I'm not impeding on anything. Yep, there we go. All right, so I think the clearance should be good. If we had a boat nearby, I could probably tell, but I think that's going to be okay. So we'll just keep this as a regular bridge, and we'll have some drawbridges somewhere else around town. You know, there's going to be a lot more major arteries like this one here, for example, and like the highway I think is good. Anyway, there's going to be a bunch of other bridges that cross this stream, so not too concerned. Now this train bridge, this has always bothered me. It's very boring, nothing special about it. And we have so many beautiful bridges now. The one I'm thinking about is, what if I just plopped one of these ones? It's stretchable. We can just have like a mini archway. Let's try to get this to work. Now it almost works. If I build it to about right here. It's looking a little odd. It's looking a little short. Okay, here's what we'll do. I'm going to demolish this section, and I'm a little reluctant to do the same over here because I know it's just going to make a big mess. So I'm going to try to just drag it out as far as I can. Oh, but then that, yeah, What do we do, guys? What do we do? I think I'll just go for it. I'll remove this segment. What are we thinking about that? That's pretty good. Now, I can imagine for the local residents, it'd be terribly noisy, but it looks cool. And that's what's important. So we've got 2 identical bridges. We've got another one of these arch bridges over here. But that's totally fine. Not a problem with that. Now this bridge, this one we can probably do something with. We have these 4-lane. I think they'd be here. Yeah, so we got these drawbridges. What is the minimum length we would need to get this one working? Well, before we know for sure, we're gonna have to get a narrow boatway through here. So by doing this, because otherwise you won't get the actual drawbridge without doing that. So yeah, it's quite wide. It's probably just as wide as the first drawbridge that we were trying to get in here. Okay, well, let's widen the river. Let's go for it. Let's really widen this river, like, by quite a bit. You know, I guess I could... Let's just go right till the road. And I think I'll even do more than that. Let's do like this. That's totally going to change the dynamic of this place. So let me pause the game real quick because we're going to start demolishing all sorts of stuff. And I'll hit play just quickly for the water to settle, which has a brand new water physics after the bike patch. So by the way, the bike patch is launched. So we're going to get into bikes eventually in Oxbourg. As you can see here, we've got bike lanes now in the game. And this patch introduces a new water physics to the game. So, not really that important if your map is kind of already set up and in place, but it's still some good information to know. There, let's hook this up like this, and then I'll just kind of get that little piece out of the way. All right, and I think that should work. So let's get a drawbridge in here. Oh, that is perfect. That couldn't have been more perfect than that. Look at that, beautiful. We'll just have to do maybe a little bit of landscaping over here, but I think in general, it's totally fine. Just gonna add a key. Yes, that is awesome. And no use keeping this in a highway configuration. I'm just gonna transform it into a regular 4-lane road. Perhaps we'll add some bike lanes here eventually. But for now, regular road is fine, and beautiful. We've got our very first drawbridge. And now for these power lines, yeah, these are kind of like the main transmission lines into the city. So can this span the whole river? How wide can we get this? Even if we go for like the big transmission lines, not really. Okay, so... Oh! That works here. Let's see, maybe if I can go like here. Nope, that's just too wide. That too. But this is pretty good. That doesn't really bother me. There. And then we'll just have to do a bit of landscaping and tree removal. To get rid of all these trees that are in the water. And there's nothing stopping me from hitting play now. This is absolutely epic. This is awesome. There, and at this point, I might not have enough time to do the whole river because, you know, we have like a ton more park spaces to do, landscaping and all that, but at least we've done the preemptive work up until here for the infrastructure that we need. And then we've got our waterways all set up. So now the last thing we need to do is just to hook this up. Make a little S-turn, just like so. Wonderful. All right. Well, I mean, half the city's dead, but let's take a look here. Oh my God, they're actually using it. They're using it. Where are the boats? Probably going to be relatively close together, which, yeah, not ideal, but oh my God, look at them all. Holy, that's a pretty steep. Yeah, people are going to have to like jump down onto the boat. I don't know how you would even get off. Okay, perhaps we're going to want to fix this eventually. I think it should be an easy fix. All I would have to do is drag this out. We can maybe reclaim a bit of land, and then I'll just build like a little drop-off area. But you know what? I'm going to leave it for now. And I just want to take a look over here. This one was a lot better. Even this one is a little high up in the air. Look, the platform is just as high as the ferry. But holy crap, look how much use it's getting. 414 people. How many people can fit on a boat? Does it say? Let me close this up here. We don't need to know all that fancy stuff. 100 passengers. Oh my God, we're gonna need more boats. Look at them all. What about this one here? How many passengers are waiting? 103. That's pretty reasonable. But are they waiting for ferries or are they waiting for buses? That's not really clear, is it? And then let's check. Oh my God, look at all of them. 268. Wow, I'm so surprised that we're getting so much usage. Let's take a look here. Let's take a look at our info views. This is so exciting. 379, what is this, monthly passengers or daily? So we got 4 ferries. Perhaps, you know what? We've got 20 ferries available to us. Let's do 5, and we're gonna increase the price up to 10 bucks. Well, I think that's just about gonna do it for this episode, guys. I think it was a pretty successful episode. We're finally delving into the Bridges and Ports DLC, so that's exciting. And in future episodes, probably the next episode, not really sure what we'll get into, probably bikes. Most likely bikes. I would really like to get a port going over here, you know? A city this size should have a port. Well, I mean, it does. We've got the cargo port over here. And it is probably underutilized, but that's okay. If we can get like a big old port going on within this mini bay within a bay, then we'll be cooking. All right, and just like that, we've got our ferry service up and running, and it appears to be very successfully running at that, judging by the amount of passengers waiting at each stop. And we can see that most of these boats are at capacity right now. Like, that is really cool to see. I think we might actually want to increase the amount of boats that are servicing the areas. Yeah, because we're like over capacity right now. So let's assign maybe another 2 boats. I think that should suffice. There's one more thing that I want to cover this episode, but before I do, I just want you to pay attention to this massive, yet another death wave that is sweeping across the entire city. This one feels a little different than the usual death waves that just randomly appear and just as quickly disappear. This one doesn't appear to be disappearing. In fact, over the last episode or 2, I've been keeping a close eye on it, and it actually appears to be getting worse. So I think there's something at play here. I thought I gave my city enough time to readjust following the last few big patches that have changed some game mechanics. It was recommended that you leave your save running for a day or so for everything to balance out. So I don't know if this is just like a delayed effect of that, but we appear to be going through a massive exodus of the city. But it's weird because our population is actually increasing, so it doesn't really make sense. Anyway, so we're just going to ignore the death wave for this episode. So I'll just ask you guys to look past that, and potentially we'll deal with that next episode or very shortly. But what I want to get into as the final part of this episode is fishing. I almost forgot to get into fishing. With this being kind of like a general purpose pier, why don't we add a fishing pier? So let's do it. I'm going to delete a couple of these boats. I'm going to delete this segment of seawall as well as this little collection of fishing gear props that I laid down a bit earlier on. And right here is where we're going to plop a fishing port. And I think if I turn on anarchy and I turn off snapping to roads, I think I can get this just close enough to where it'll actually detect the road as a proper connection. And it does. So what I'll do now is I am going to extend this pier just like so, and then I'll do the same thing like this. Perfect. That actually looks really good. Maybe what I'll do is I'll just scooch it over like this, just so it looks a bit more natural, and then I'll go back into my terrain tool like this. Beautiful. That is excellent. All right, then we're gonna draw out a fishing pier, and I'm not gonna go too crazy here. I'm just gonna draw it out just far enough so I can get 4 boats in here. And then we'll draw our narrow boatways. We'll connect them up just like so. And then the last step is to just build out a fishing area. And I'm going to turn off anarchy because... Oh, what's going on here? Oh, crap. Okay, I'm going to have to turn on anarchy because these seawalls are kind of clipping into the pier, it looks like. Like if I try to place this fishing area anywhere else, yeah, that's not really working out. But that's okay because we have anarchy. But the reason why I wanted it disabled is because we have all of our shipping routes that are going over into this area, and I really don't want to impede on those at all. And as you can see, we can barely see those lines. But I think I'm okay. I think I'm okay here. Is there any way that we can confirm that? Can I go into... Oh, beautiful. Okay, I think we're good. There we go. And now I'm just going to draw out my fishing area as wide as I possibly can. And there we go. We're going to make a weird kind of U shape like this. And just like that, our fishing port should be operational. I don't think there's anything else we need. But there's one thing that I think I should add, and that is cold storage. Why don't we add some cold storage? 1, because it's functional, and 2, because it just looks cool. So, okay, what's going on here? What if I turn on road snapping? Oh, that actually looks pretty nice there. I'll just have to correct this little road connection issue. There, all right. That's not bad. And then I think this should become functional. Yeah, I don't think we really need any anything else. So I'm just gonna plop one more fishing area. Let me just check. Oh yeah, we've got plenty of open space out here. So if I memorized it correctly, it's gonna fall somewhere in here. I might even have enough room for 2, but just to be safe, I'm gonna build it kind of out here. And then I'm gonna leave enough room for my fishing boat route. So we'll have kind of like a little curve like that. There. And then look at that. That is awesome. Okay, and then the final thing to do is to just draw out our fishing lines. So we're just gonna start off with our 2 individual fishing areas. So then we'll draw a route out to this one and we'll connect this up. And the second one will connect over here. Bam. So we'll start off with that. We'll probably have some more fishing areas around town, but for now I just want to get started with those 2. And just like that, beautiful. We got some fishing boats going out and about. So we should be able to get this building profitable. Yes, and already it has become profitable. Awesome. So we've unlocked a brand new sort of production chain for the city. So this is greatly going to contribute to the economy. We're already doing great. You know, we're not really spending too much right now. We're probably going to have to spend some money at least to fix this death wave, I imagine. But for now, we're okay. Our little fishing boats are going out. So the Bay of Oxbourg is about to get very hectic and very busy with all of the ferries going along and the fishing boats. And then we have our classic large shipping container boats. But anyways, it'll make the city look more lively. So that'll be it for this episode. I'm going to let this death wave play out, and then we'll just deal with the next one that comes after it. But that's going to do it for this episode. Thank you guys so much for watching. Really appreciate it. Huge shout out to all the channel supporters. It's because of you guys that all of this is possible, so thank you. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to drop a like, leave a comment, and consider subscribing to the channel to get notified of future uploads. And if you'd like to support the channel even further, consider becoming a YouTube member or a patron. That's it for me, guys. Thanks so much for watching. Until the next one, take care.